quota Dediğiyle Oh, yes, yes. Very good.
Bunda bari kafasını hocam ama konuya uygun olarak.
Bayanlar first diye. Bu eksik kalmıştı değil mi? Yani her şeyi
halledilmişse kadınlaştırma projesi yönetimi.
Uygulanması
bu.
Nasıl uygulayabiliriz?
Introduce you, say a few words. I guess I did. I should come closer. Hello. I guess this is working. Thank you very much for coming. I'm glad to see that we have such a diverse group interested in this topic. I will just spend a couple minutes introducing our very special guest today, even though she doesn't seem to be needing an introduction, because everybody's just saying hi, everyone wants to say hi to her already. So Professor Nurket Yetish was born in 1950 in Eskişehir, Turkey, received her BS in Chemical Engineering and MBA in Operations Management degree from Bosphorus University in 1973-1975, and then her PhD in Industrial Engineering. Since then, she has been very active in developing many very important projects in higher education. She was appointed as the Dean of Faculty of Engineering at the Marmara University, where she was from 1994 till 2000. And they were the finalists for the European Quality Award in 2000. So then comes a point in her biography that probably she's mostly known for. And she became director of the became the president of TÜBİTAK between January 2004 and 2011. And during this time, she really made a number of measures that have transformed this institution. And so during her tenure, she has led a restructuring initiative that resulted in multi-tenfold increase in both the financial support and the services provided by TÜBİTAK to the Turkish research area. And this development is one of the root causes of the exponential increase in the main science and technology indicators of Turkey. And I'm sure we will hear something about that today as well. So we're very happy to have such a distinguished female leader join us today. As you know, University of Sarajevo, International University of Sarajevo, is a part of this Horizon 2020 project, and we are implementing our gender equality plan. So it's very good to have somebody to showcase us what female leadership looks like. Also, one thing that I heard about Professor Yetish is that not only she's a good leader, but she produces good leaders. So out of her colleagues at the Marmara University, at the engineering faculty, 7 of them became rectors of other universities. So, so if she's almost everybody. So if you want to be a leader, she's a good person to hang out with, basically. Right? Okay, so without further ado, Professor Yetish, please.
Good morning, everybody. I would like to thank Professor Erkan Ture for inviting me here to your university to share my knowledge and experience with you. I really appreciate it. He was one of best friends since 1960s, I think, not 1990s. And also, I would like to thank Yasminka for organizing such a meeting. I would really like to thank you. Today, the aim of my presentation is to benchmark the policy measures for gender equality in higher education, science, technology, and innovation. From now on, when I use STI, I mean science, technology, and innovation. The scope will be correlation between national competitiveness and STI. Why do we need STI? Gender gap index, most of you, I'm sure you know about it, but I would just give some examples. And women in science. Finally, the policy measures for gender equality in STI. What is national competitiveness? Let's start from this point. It is the degree of a country can, under free and fair market conditions, without any incentives, without any barriers, etc., produce goods and services which meet the test of international markets. You're going to make production and you have to test them, what you produce, in international markets, while really expanding their citizens' incomes, real income increases. What you're doing at the end should cause the increase of your citizens' real incomes and their development index and their lives, better lives. This is a quotation from one of the EU reports, in fact, 2 sources. Smart, sustainable, and inclusive growth that secures the economic competitiveness of EU needs high value added, high wage activities. In order to achieve this target, we should have the structural change towards the economy, especially in higher knowledge intensity. If you don't have the higher knowledge intensity, you will not be able to do so. You cannot increase your competitiveness. What is science, technology, innovation? This might be a little bit complicated, but it is easy. You have the research, you have the basic research, applied research, experimental development, but you also should have the creative ideas, and you should be able to change your, put to life your creative ideas by innovation. At the end, you have to have the commercialization capability. If you don't have the customers, what you're doing, you will end with what? I don't know. When I say customers, please do not only understand the commercial customers, every kind of customers. Are those things what I'm trying to say really right? We can see them by making some comparisons between the countries. I have chosen randomly the 7 Balkanian countries, and I made a benchmark between Austria, Finland, Sweden, and Switzerland. All the details of calculations I have given to Yasminka. This is just a summary table. Let's see what happens. Austria uses 1/5 of the country of the 7 Balkan countries are using. And population is almost the same. It has the highest population, but they produce 3.57 times more high-tech exports. I'm talking about not 1 country, 7 countries. Finland uses 3/4 of the 7 Balkan countries' land and 1/5 of the population, and about 75% of what the whole Balkan countries exporting is made only by Finland. Sweden uses almost the same land, because land and productions are the factors of productions. There are some other more, but I'm just giving the examples. And population is 1/3, and it also Sweden is also produces 3.56 times more, exports more than the 7 Balkan countries. Switzerland, 1/10 of the country's land, 1/3 of the population. With this much amount of production factors, they produce almost 13 times more exports. A nation will export those goods that make most use of the factors which it is relatively well endowed. Nations can use their lands, their natural resources, raw materials they can export, but some nations does not inherit much, but creates most important factors of production by skilled human resources and scientific base. If you have enough scientific base and skilled human resources, you would be able to create more, even though you don't have rich resources inherited from the nature. Let's now benchmark the G20s, the biggest countries all around the world. During 2000 and 2016, as you will see here, number of the countries increased their number of researchers, scientific researchers. Turkey is the first between these 2 years, within 16 years. Thailand second, Korea third, China, this is the percentage change of the change, China is the third. If you just think about the population size of the China, You can imagine how much it is. But United States has not been able to increase it much. And in fact, some of the countries like Indonesia, Russian Federation, Iran, the number of researchers decreased during the last 16 years. What about the GDP's change? China is the first, India is the second, Russia is the third, Turkey is the fourth. Is there a correlation between the researchers and the GDP increase? My answer is yes. The ones who have more skilled human resources and scientific base are really does a lot of successes, achieves a lot of successes. If we look at the global researcher stock, in the total EU in 2015, we have 1.82 million full-time equivalent researchers. When we say full-time equivalent, you know the calculation. It is about 1/3 of the headcount, because none of the researchers would do all the time research and research. Like in the university, you have the teaching responsibilities, you have some service responsibilities. That's why it's calculated about 1/3 of it. China, excluding the Hong Kong, if you include it, it is going to be higher, 1.52, and United States, 1.27 million full-time researchers. If you look at the changes, again, between 2005 and 2015, in Turkey, we have almost more than doubled achievement for the increase in researchers. Portugal, Ireland, and Greece almost doubled. South Korea almost doubled. EU increased quite good, 32.2%. Finland and Romania decreased. Russia and Iceland decreased. What happened in Turkey? How we get this achievement? In Turkey, this is just a very brief slide. TÜBİTAK is the National Scientific and Technological Coordination Agency, both performing and funding research, and we have the private sector, NGOs, universities, and public agencies. And all together, between 2004 and 2012, we have managed somehow, that's how we managed, a common vision, common values, common priorities, and common objectives to solve our problems, to increase our quality of life, to increase our welfare, and the national competitiveness. Of course, we also got support from the society and also used the international collaboration, especially with EU, with the framework programs. And for the researchers, the result is this. TÜBİTAK has been established in 1964. Starting from the statistics mainly starts from the beginning of the 1990s. Full-time equivalent researchers, as you can see, increased from 15,000 to 38,000. During 2004 and 2012, how we managed, as I previously explained during the previous slide, it increased more than 2.5 times. And from 13 up to now, unfortunately, it should be, 16. The last 12 should be 16, not 12. Number of headcount is increased, but unfortunately, full-time equivalent researchers is a little bit in stagnation. How we managed? how we get this success. This is true for every change in a society, either for science and technology or gender equality or whatever it is. Success comes first from the political community. Politicians are the most important people. Without their commitment, you can do anything. That's really true. That's what I believe in. So, not only the prime minister, parliament, and the ministers should also support. And administrative commitment should be progressive, should help you what you are trying to do. The ministers, undersecretaries, bureaucrats, etc. And of course, you need a kind of coordination. This is the role of TÜTAP given by the law up to year 2012, in 2011. Afterwards, the system had been changed and the responsibility had been given to the Ministry of Science, Industry and Trade. And we were just trying to do the good coordination. We were trying to do whatever we are supposed to do. And of course, the public support is the most society, and the public support is necessary. Because if you don't have the society and public support, politicians, the ones who are supporting you, cannot be voted again. That's why you need the public support in order to back up the politicians. You need the politicians in order to back up the systems and the changes. Now, let us have a look for the gender equality. The first part was the relation between the national competitiveness and science, technology, and innovation. Why do we need gender equality? Because you need skilled human resources. If you don't use the other 50% of the society, you will start with the half. Instead of doing this, you should use whole potential of the society. As you know, UNESCO has some criteria. That's what I put here. They are measuring it by educational attainment, employee opportunities, access to resources, management and leadership, and work and life balance. If it is equal to 1, we have the gender equality. If it is greater than 1, we have the male inequality. If it is less than 1, we have the female inequality. In year 2012, these were the best countries all around the world for gender equality. The red line shows the educational attainment of the woman in a country. The green one, health. How can I get rid of this sign? Okay, that's good, thank you. The green one, health and survive. Dark blue is the economic participation of the country, women, and the political empowerment. These are the best countries: Iceland, Finland, Norway, Sweden. You all know that. Some selected countries: United States, Turkey, Pakistan, Malaysia, Korea. Just randomly selected. Turkey, of course, I selected intentionally. For almost every country, educational attainment, health and survival, most of the nations achieved those targets. We will see for the other countries later. But the political empowerment and the economic participation defines the level of the country's gender equality. United States has much greater economic participation, but very low political empowerment, and same for Turkey and for the other countries. Gulf countries, these are the countries that all you know. Again, they do have very good achievement for education and the health, but for the political environment, almost none. This is why King gave them some positions on the upper advisory, in the top advisory council in 2011. And again, the economic participation is quite low compared to the other countries. Arab countries are very interesting. I had been invited twice to Saudi Arabia to give some lectures about science, technology, and the women in higher education, etc. The first meeting on the left, when I go inside the room, there was no lady. I was the only one. Okay. Then, after the conference, our wife of the Miss Ambassador came and told me that they were in another room behind the big room, and they were watching me from the screen. In the year 2013, I had been invited to a women's conference. Again, we were all women. All the women are quite modern, like we are here. They were not wearing any hijabs or other things. But again, there was no man. They were in the other room, okay, and they were just watching us from the screen. No, not from the screen. They were just listening us, what we're saying. No. But we would be able to see them and both listen them. I don't know the place. What's the reason? But anyhow, they have a very good educational achievement. These are the recent numbers. In some of the countries, they have reached the they have reached the man inequality. The woman is higher in some countries. They are good in tertiary education as well. Is there any relation between the gender equality, GDP per capita, and the Human Development Index? For the Nordic countries, you see the gender indexes, and the GDPs are quite good, and the Human Development Index. For the Gulf countries, unfortunately, gender inequalities is so high. They are good GDP per capita. You remember what I said? Some nations inherit some resources, and by selling them, they get the welfare. Some countries uses their own mines, and Human Development Index are not as good as their GDPs. That's why you need gender equality in order to increase the Human Development Index as well. Let's come to 2017. These are Nordic countries again. Again, Iceland still in one, and Norway, Finland, Sweden, Denmark is 14. And what about the Balkan countries? They had achieved both the health and education. Not so bad in economic participation, not as good as the education, but still there's a way to go for the political environment. You need more female parliamentarians in your parliaments and in the other places as well. About the women in science. This is the world picture, big picture. In Europe, especially Central Europe and Eastern Europe is the highest. North America and Western Europe is less than we could expect. Asia is almost, especially the South Asia, is in the first case. In Arab countries, as I told you before, they are better than what we would expect. This is the big picture. Let's see what we could do in order to increase the gender equality in science and the higher education. I'm going to take the issue by using these UNESCO's 4 criteria. First, as I told you before, for health and education, they have already almost every country achieved a lot. But for employment opportunity and access to resources, we have a lot quite way to go. This is in year 2009's female researchers in Europe. The average is 33%. Turkey's is 36% higher than the Europe. And of course, some East European countries and the North European countries are much more higher ratio. It's improving. As you remember, it was 33, increased 39.6 in year 2014 in, again, Central and Western Europe, this area. And in America and Western Europe, it is still quite low. And Turkey, it has been increased a little bit within the couple of years. Again, coming back to Arab countries, they are also good in women teachers. But as you can guess, these are the schools just dedicated for women. They don't have any mixed education system yet. But sooner or later, they are on the way, as far as I can realize from the news. Women affects all areas of life, including science, technology, and education. Gender equality will encourage new solutions and expand the scope of the research. When the woman mind, woman hand is inside the science, you can be sure that it is going to be better. In recent years, as I show you, the number of women involved in science has increased quite. But even though there are some encouraging signs, women in science still underrepresented. And it's about, for the whole globe, 30%, only 30% of the researchers are female. And it is lower, especially in the higher ranks. In global agenda, if despite the improved increase in women in higher education, there are still a lot of barriers. Because to frame, we have some biases, especially for women. They cannot be engineers, they cannot be mathematicians, or those kind of biases are still within the societies. And we have some gender stereotypes. Men should do such and such, women should do such and such. Even at home, their responsibilities are always trying to be separated. And of course, this limits the women achievements in especially STEM, science, technology, and engineering and mathematics areas. Even though they have a lot of barriers, UNESCO and World Bank says that in STEM fields, Saudi Arabian women is much more successful, or they can achieve those areas compared to the UK and United States. You see the percentages. This is what the World Bank and the UNESCO says. Why do we have barriers? That's what you know. This is the leaky pipeline. Generally, females start with 53% in their bachelor degrees, graduates. For the masters, it decreases, it's again the 33, but for when you come to PhDs, it drops to 43. And female researchers only 30 or 28. That's what they call as leaky pipe. In order to increase the gender equality in science and technology, we should close the gaps or the points that the leaks are coming from. What about the result of leaky pipeline? It starts like this. At the end, it becomes like this. Man gets higher in number, women get smaller and smaller. This is how they call it as scissors-shaped diagram. The dotted ones belongs to the year 1999. The solid ones 2013, and it is closing. That's good news, but it is still scissor shape. Still, we have very, very few females at the end, grade 8 position. In global area, people are being paid less, still being paid less likely to be promoted, and clustered at the lower rankings. Yeah, I mean if you look at the organization pyramids, you can check it even in your organization. Who are on the top and who are on the bottom? Please do not get angry to me.
No, this is exactly what our project is all about.
That's why politicians and the managers and the leaders are the most important. Women's employment options are often restricted by rules and laws. I don't know that kind of law you have. We don't have any law in Turkey, but still, women is quite low in some areas. Even some minister would say that, oh, women cannot do those kind of jobs in the, I don't know. Why? Who decides that? Let the woman decide on that. Why are you deciding for me? Unrestricted intersectional, interdisciplinary, and transnational mobility of researchers. In fact, the mobility in science is the most important part. Because if you share your ideas with your colleagues, you're going to get some good news back, and vice versa. But women cannot move much because the children's responsibility basically on the women's shoulders. And structural social inequalities exist. Award, evolution, and selection processes are always non-biased. Systems of defining and evaluating scientific excellence are not as neutral. They are trying to claim that I'm not talking about in specific countries. I am talking about the whole Europe, whole world. They say that, oh, okay, there is inequality, but where is the equality? For the woman, what I would say, I would never care if I am a woman or not. I always wanted to go my way as I am. There might be some, because I was the manager, I had the manager position. Sometimes there are still going, as most of the organizations, there might be some mistakes. I always call the people and tell them that if there is something wrong, I am the first guilty one because I either choosing the wrong person, give the less resources or whatever. This is my responsibility. But your responsibility also was there. Did you do that? Everybody wasn't happy what I was saying. It was quite cool what I was saying. Then I realized that since I am a lady, men wouldn't like me to talk like that to them. Afterwards, I realized that I didn't care. I was telling the right. They have the right to tell me the truth. That's what I am expecting from them. For the woman, please do not care about much for gender. Just go your way. That is one of the messages. You have to build teams. Then you should come to the next workshop in the afternoon. You should have the teamwork. You have the team members. Okay. Let's look at the most worst part of the situation, management and leadership. Women in grade A positions. As you can see, in Europe, it is around 20%. 20%. But fortunately, some countries, you can have the, I'm sure somehow she's going to share it with you. Some countries are in a good position, but most of the countries is not in a good position. Female heads of higher education institutions. I didn't study how much university you have, and I didn't know how much female rectors do you have in your universities. Just check now. You should be the one.
In Bosnia, we had a Tuzla.
What? Tuzla. Ah, good. It is one. That's a whole. We don't have much nowadays female rectors. It was previously in a better situation, but it is going to increase. That's what we do. Women on boards at the decision levels. This is the most important part. All the decisions are made by the men. Unequal. You should be on the board. I'm not fighting against something, but men also needs women minds. They have another vision, another perspective, you know. You should have. Just listen. What do you lose? That decide what you want to decide. But just hear what she is telling. That's what I'm trying to say. Global agenda, it is the problem in every country. Women are less represented in senior levels. Some countries put some earmarking and quotas, like the quotas, Baltic countries, Nordic countries. They say that this much percent of women should be there. And when you go EU projects to the meetings, most of the people coming from the Nordic countries are women, directors, etc., etc. Women have had little input into the science research agenda. Trends of horizontal and vertical segregation across industry, academia, government, work worldwide. It is not only for the universities. In industry, we have the same. In bureaucracy, we have the same. In every country. Exceptional women may reach high positions, but the statistics show that there is considerable discrimination. The fourth item is work and life balance. That's all of us, including the men we are trying to date, family, work, business, etc. It is not so easy to put the work and life balance. Require, first of all, massive individual resources. First of all, you have to balance your life. But institutions also should have some fully accept family-friendly policies. I mean, if you are trying to balance your life, If your institution doesn't help you to have the kindergartens, etc., how are you going to balance it with a limited income? That's why one of the most important roles of the university management is to give some opportunities for both men and women some out to balance of life. Shared responsibility is important for children at home, of course. It should start from home. It is not the duty of women just to grow up the children. Of course, in Turkey, we have very good developments, especially for the motherhood leaves, etc., including the father's paternal leaves. Paternal leave, both man and woman, is very important. In fact, have you ever seen in Sweden, they have the latte pappas. It means the coffee fathers or something like that. Because they are taking care of the children, they go to some pubs and drink their latte and while chatting, they have such a term. That's why they have the highest gender, one of the countries, they have the highest gender. And kindergartens. I'm very glad that your university has such a facility. That's really good. Flexible working hours is important. And family-friendly universities and infrastructure. I'm sure that in the project they are going to make a lot of suggestions. As a conclusion, gender inequality is not new and has been on the research and political agenda of almost every country. That's what I'm trying to give the examples. The countries that took the necessary steps to shift the stereotypical role of women to a more efficient use of women labor have had the advantage of being more prosperous, providing better lives for everyone. That's why I have given the examples of some countries benchmarking, both the GDP per capita, Human Development Index, and the gender equality. The ones who are really doing something for gender equality are getting better and better. That's it. The second conclusion, this is from my experience. The leaders, governments, and the politicians have a very crucial role to play in promoting gender equality at every level. But if we want to change, to make a big change, we really should change first our minds, then mothers and fathers' minds, brothers-in-law, brothers, sisters, all relatives' minds. Not the minds, mindsets, values, attitudes toward the role and aspirations of women, not only in science and technology, in every. Without changing minds, you cannot do anything. I'm a little bit hesitating, but let me tell you. I went to one of the mosques in the city center. I just went in. It was not the praying time. I was hearing what I should hear in the mosque. A man came and took me out. There was nobody in the mosque. And just put me to the front of the entrance and told me that enjoy. I tell him that thank you. I just go out. Bosnia. We have a lot of examples in Turkey as well. I don't know. It should start from the religious centers, not only from the universities. And when I go out, I told them that, what am I talking about gender equality? It's just start from. That was it. Okay. In order to be successful in science and technology, I'm coming back to science, technology, and competitiveness. I gave these triangles before, and I told them that we had somehow in Turkey managed to have the common vision and common direction with the help of all stakeholders. But science technology is a competition. This system does not always act as I previously mentioned. There are some counter acts between all the stakeholders inside the country against or for each other. But the other more important thing, it is also an international issue, international competition. There will be some positive impacts coming from outside and the negative inside, and the vice versa. That's why you should be careful about what you're trying to do. And this is an international cooperation. These are the recent news we are reading about from the news. Sino-US trade, China-US trade. And what they say, this is an American, in the longer term, China plans to build up its intellectual property. The ones who are increasing and building up their intellectual property will win the wars. I'm not talking about the military. I'm talking about the economic wars. And Trump has signed. This is not only for China. Now comes the EU. This is again a war. And again, it says that, this is a quotation, not my words, rich countries are guarding their patent rights fiercely. That's why you have to create your patents, your knowledge base, your scientific base, your innovation base by yourself. Not only alone, of course, with partnerships, but you should be careful about the inside and outside effects. Because some effects are also affecting the politicians, and they may take sometimes wrong decisions, and as well managers or us. There are a lot of social things going on. And in order to achieve what we would like to have, we would work hands by hands as men and women all together for a prosperous life of the world. That's what I would like to say for today. This is your turn. Questions and answers. Okay. I think we don't need this. I'm sitting.
Professor, that Islamic convention was
protest in Croatia a couple of days ago. Can you explain a bit some
Yes,
mention
It's a big issue now.
Yeah, what's the issue?
Well,
Are you familiar with that?
I know a little bit, but I'm sure somebody will help out. It's actually this information is about actually against sexual harassment of women. That's the major thing. Why is it? It's abortion. I think it's the abortion. It's about it's pro-choice versus pro-life. So the situations are in terms of the
No, Istanbul Convention was signed in Istanbul signed by a lot of countries. In 2016, actually deal with not only gender equality and who are don't belong to any of the groups. We know are there okay to put them like in actually they transgender people and transgender. Sex. But it has to do with sex more than with gender. Yeah. This is what this is and in Croatia they have in the country they have such a big protest there this because they do not accept anybody but male or female. They believe that all these other people are either mentally ill or something's completely wrong with them in science. So these protests in the last week was just meant to have huge protest like the whole city was seen kind of.
They were against Istanbul.
Yes.
Croatia has ratified it as a country, but now they are.
The government did, but the people obviously believe that the church is actually the answer to and they don't accept it.
And I'm glad that I mentioned about the most experience I have. That's why I it doesn't make any religion.
But it's not very common in Bosnia. Yeah.
That's why I talk about the social support. Is you remember from the you should if you can change the minds of your relatives and others, and if we can go together, it would go better in the future. Even for the gender equality, do you think that only the men, some of the men groups are against it? No. Women are also very respected, as you may know, in certain things, because they have total equality. That's why it should start from kindergarten, educational systems, etc. I agree about it. We have also this area, we can do
What's here? Concept.
Have you heard about, he was a scholar in 70.
Yeah, he was traveling.
No, it is Evliya Kabe Celil is different. He is a scholar. And I have read his book. His mind, the minds of those people are much more wider if you compare them to them. He says that opium is the Islamic. Opium, who cares if he is using cigarettes or opium in his house? Nobody can get rid of it. It is the privacy. I was shocked. Because it was the 15th century. That's why social mindsets. But if you can hold people, question critical minds, can create critical minds, I think everything will be.
Time for one more question.
Thank you very much.
I would like to thank you.
I am wondering how is the Leaky Pipeline for when they start to
they graduate from bachelor degree, master's, and PhD, and after the researcher. So what is the ratio?
Like vice versa, without considering of unemployment rates. They are just using the statistics, looking at tertiary level, master level, PhD level, CDA levels, assistant professors, associate and the full professors levels. And they are looking, do you remember there was a picture before that man and woman was almost equal, then man gets higher, woman gets lower. This is just from statistics, just vice versa.
So it always ends up to 100%.
Okay, that's it.
It starts with 50-50 and then
In some cases, more than 50 indeed.
yeah.
Is there any question about that? If I know the answer.
That's a great issue for management. That is a situation, and I really agree for another for what for organizing this event. But I've just had one comment there. I would really like your novel research to improve, I think the very tough relationship between men and women in this age of 2018, and you may know in the United States that the divorce rate is about 60%. So I think I just wanted to ask you about your perspective on that fairly troubling trends in the relationship and women, which is basically important, basically in our society.
Do you mean the increased rate of the divorce rates or those kind of realized?
It's also the fight.
You know,
It's been it's misunderstanding is basic gender.
This is my perspective.
Yeah.
This is not an academic, just what it's very important. Divorce rates are increasing, and the marriage rates are getting lower and lower. People started to live alone. One reason is, as the women get educated, even though all of this seems to be, except all gender equality concepts, etc., etc., by birth, we have some bias, some filters in us. When woman and man gets together, even though man behaves as if gender friendly, but because of the previous biases, then starts some conflicts between the couples. And as the woman gets their economic independence, they don't want to continue for as if they, her mother or her grandmother likes. This might be, I'm not sure. That's why we should change the minds. I really wonder. Another thing, societies are much more open to the freedom of the youngest. This might be a reason. And the big cities also have, I think, not only diverse people, all of us are being affected by the big cities, cultures. And those kind of things, I don't think that it is because of the gender equality causes those kind of things. Instead, if both sides would accept the real gender equality, that's what is the relation with my husband, really, sincerely. Otherwise, I wouldn't do all of those things if he wouldn't help me. And the vice versa also, I have helped him. With 2 daughters, it was not so easy. Yes. That's why, really, you should accept friendship in your marriages. If you have that kind of respect, I'm sure that divorce rates are going to be. This is just my
Although I have a terrible today, I just would like to make a comment about minds, our minds as female and male. Because the mind is actually encoded by human genome, which is the product of evolution, and the sex is very biological concept when you are a female and when you are a male. All of your biology is somehow also shaping your mind in the way for the reproduction of our species. And that is the reason actually we have feminine features and masculine features. And in the society as citizens, we are equal, but they are not the same. So when we discuss these issues of social life with equality and all these things, sometimes I believe even we as women, we may include some misunderstandings and forget that there is female, feminine, and there is male, who is masculine. And this is actually sometimes ignored because, for example, in countries like Sweden, there are now schools called gender neutral. And I am one of the people, I'm sorry, totally against all that because gender is encoded by DNA and this is the rule of our nature. And we cannot play with that so easily with social policies without knowing that because the DNA has very deep, it shapes our minds, it shapes the way how we think and perceive the things. And we should be, of course, just collaborate rather than normal instead of fighting. And I'm not saying fighting, they're fighting here.
That's why I call
yes, I believe equality should be enough to become something like perceived as that. If a man can do it, I can do it. A man cannot do everything a woman can do, and a woman cannot do everything a man can do. They have their brain, really. There are scientific research showing that their brain has different. I'm not saying that. I didn't say that. Somebody.
That's why French and Spain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, I would like to wrap up this session and thank our speaker very much. So even though it's, as we could see, it's really hard to become a woman who is in a high position, I guess has managed to do it. And actually, we had asked her to share some of her secrets with us today at the workshop at 1:30. So if anybody is interested, we will hear them. We will be meeting at the conference room right next door. So that will be at 1:30. Okay. And as just to remember this lecture, this at our university we have. We have a little appreciation, so you can remember. People use this into your life.
I just like to thank you for the lecture. Thank you very much.
I think
If I look up,
Then you can say,
Sa te fosse una scuola,